Should be good, Marianne.
Okay. We're calling our meeting to order. It's 5:30 or so on August 17th. First, we are going to have the disposition of minutes. If everyone has had a chance to read the minutes.
Minutes be approved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The minutes are approved. The next item is our next meeting, and that will be September 14th. Is that good for everyone? Did we know for sure or not for sure? Schedule it for the 14th.
Fine with me, Marianne.
Okay, thank you. Let's leave it that way, and then if something earth-shattering does come up, then we can go from there. Okay. Old business. So on the item under old business is our district expansion. So go ahead, folks. What do we have to say about this?
Are you there, JV?
I'm here. I can't see you, Pam.
Well, that's all right. I'm here.
Okay.
You want to talk about the status of that district expansion?
Well, first of all, yes, Paul and I had one of these Zoom meetings with code enforcement officer and went over the application format and information that the public would need to make the presentations for the Historic Review Committee, as well as all the other zoning issues or permits required by the City of Athens. But I haven't heard anything back since we had our meeting. I forwarded him all the email or all the application stuff that I had already provided or made up. And I believe he indicated that they have a third party that actually creates the documents that would be provided to the public and to the city for permit review. Right, Paul?
Correct. Yeah.
So we're waiting on that right now.
John, I would say that we can. That is something that we can keep moving on. I wouldn't read that as being a reason to slow down this process if the board wants to continue moving forward. I think that's something we can probably get returned in the next few days.
The thing that is, and I'm always learning things here too, but as of right now, you all, I'm sure, realize this building was in the national district and we didn't get to review anything that went on there. So we have to provide the city needs the national district approved by council right now. Aside our district, no district has been approved so far, if I'm not mistaken, Paul, by the City of Athens. So we have no jurisdiction whatsoever right now. Even the national district, which has been established.
Right. I understand that. We do have jurisdiction over the properties on West Union Street, if I'm not mistaken myself.
Correct.
Only because they asked for it, not because
a few of them. Yeah.
It's not because we were. No, we were invited to provide our opinion. We were not required to.
Okay. Gotcha.
Thanks. None of this. Anybody that's come before the historic board up till now has done it because they wanted us to give them something, not because they were looking for a review for historic preservation. I mean, I think, if I got my little circle on there to speak, but the heck with all this. We need to submit the districts to the council and let them approve them or disapprove them so that we can actually be a committee that has some jurisdiction on something. That's if you look at the bylaws that were created in Title 45, that's what we're supposed to be doing. And we haven't even got anything established right now.
Hey, John,
Yeah.
I'm not certain. I kind of did have jurisdiction in the original historic district set up by the historic district. Basically, our area. Think so? Well,
I believe there's two or three addresses, but not all of the addresses from the Union Street fire that are designated locally, as is the Stumac building on Schaefer Street. That was a request by them. They were interested in getting tax credits, et cetera. And that was because it's not on the National Registry, that was a benefit to them, if I'm not mistaken. And so there's a handful, and I think, like I said, John, I think it's 3 or 4 addresses in the city, 2 or 3 on Union Street. Guys was one of them, I believe. The one that used to have the florist in it was another, and the one that used to house the Uptown Dog T-shirt shop, I think those ones, and I'm not sure who the owners are. Gary Hunter, I think, is the executor of a trust for one of them. Guy Phillips was a property owner, and the other one, I think, is some sort of it's a LLC, and I want to say Scott Nosley was one of the owners of that project. So those 3 were, but the Union and Jackie O's were not incorporated into that project.
I understand what you're saying, but they were all requested our review. They were not required to have our review.
They petitioned to be locally registered, locally designated.
Yes.
That's correct. Yeah.
And as it is now, anybody can do anything uptown they want without our review if they don't want it. And
That's correct.
I'm telling you, Cornwell Jewelers is in the National Historic District.
are you resolution that are you looking for a resolution? Go ahead, admit the district as we've got it currently, the city and have them.
Can't hear you.
John, can you hear me?
No.
All right. Well,
You could type it in the chat window if you could, or we're having a tough time hearing you.
that's all right. Just tell me, I'll listen.
Okay. So the guidelines for how you want to move forward, that's sitting in section 4511 of Athens City Code, that gives you the procedures. 4512 tells you the procedures. And it says that you need to review the requirements under 4511 to determine whether it has value to be on the local registry. There's a lot of flexibility in there, of course, and if you've got a district that's on the National Registry, there's it's really just a matter of this body, if when you are ready to do so, if you feel comfortable moving forward, to make a motion to recommend that City Council do so, and then that motion second and a vote, it would be forwarded up to City Council. Provided it would be helpful if there was some discussion under 4511, which has a series of things that you are to consider. I can bring that up on my screen if you'd like to see what those particulars are.
Well, a few years ago, we were in the same place, but the problem with the National Register District is it was cut off in 1983. So a lot of the properties that we're looking at now wouldn't be included in there. That's why we had talked about expanding that district, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know what to say. We can go through each property quickly and just, say that we think it should be included in the district because we're looking at it here some years later and it's time to include these properties. So.
You all
I'm
see my screen?
Yeah, I can see the screen.
Okay.
I'm very lost. I haven't attended 2 meetings. It's probably all my responsibility that I am lost. But where we left before the pandemic was getting ready to present to the city in a public hearing. Has that been scrapped?
The format that was discussed in late winter, as far as having I don't think it was actually a public hearing. I think it was just some sort of an open house.
That's correct.
Yeah,
that's correct. An open house. Yeah.
Yeah. So that doing such an endeavor in a public forum such as a community center, that cannot happen right now, just based on this city regulations for boards and commissions and council, et cetera, and public meetings. We are not prepared to open up for face-to-face meetings like that yet, Pam. So in short, yeah, that specific concept, at least in the short run, is scrapped.
Fine. So is our next step then, JV, no, because you've already submitted that application, correct, JV? Paul, what's our next step?
It's for the board to consider whether if the board is satisfied that you've done a lot of work. You've already met with property owners in the Uptown District. You did that late last year and early this year. You've had public forums in the past to discuss some of these issues. If the board is ready to move, it's your decision as to when you want to move forward with it. The requirement under city code is on 4512, and it says a property may be a property which includes a building, structure, place, or object may be nominated as a historic landmark, or a group of properties may be nominated as a historic district by, among others, the Historic Preservation Board. If the board wants to, you can make that nomination, motion and a second and a vote. And then that nomination recommendation is forwarded up to City Council to consider. What you would want to do, though, is include findings within your recommendation as to why you're nominating it. And those findings are identified within Chapter 4511. That's the criteria. You're looking at the character, interest, value to the development of the city, the state, or the U.S., its location for a significant historical event, archaeological record, etc.
Yes, I am seeing that.
So, the existing historic district, it's obvious that it's it meets the criteria here. That work has been done back in 1980 to document how it meets this criteria.
The reason that we're submitting it to council is to flesh out the ordinance that created this board and give us jurisdiction over an area.
Correct.
And we don't even have that national district as part of our area right now.
I know that, JD. I know that.
Let alone the one we created. We got 2 different districts here that neither of them have been approved.
But the larger one incorporates the National Historic District. The map that you put together, JV, includes the historic district from a couple decades ago.
Well, I I understand all that. Then what I'm getting at too is if there's controversy on the expanded district, the least we should get approved is a national district so that we can have jurisdiction over Uptown Athens. I mean, I don't know if that would be, I would think, a simpler request.
I see what you're saying.
And then we could expand that. I don't want the national district to go down in flames because we've expanded it to include other properties outside the national district. We can't even deal with Court Street. We can't do anything in Athens at all right now.
Well, I know that. We know that, and that we accept that. And now I understand your logic and your reason for mentioning the National Historic District. And I would like to suggest that this board move forward with the National Historic District.
All set.
Yeah, I second.
I agree or whatever.
We're still going to have the same problem, though, because that district was put in place in 1982 or 3, and it omitted most of the properties that we would like to look at.
That's correct, Marianne, but JV's logic is that if we can get his National Historic District accepted, then we can come back, as I'm assuming, JV, we would go back and then ask for an expanded district, which would reflect the map that JV prepared last year for us.
Yeah,
it's our local district. It's a national and local. And we've evaluated the city and looked at a local district as well as what the national historic people have considered as a district in Athens.
All right, shall we do that then? That sounds good.
So JV, am I correct? You do not want us to...
Absolutely, Pam. Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
I like that answer.
Yes.
Add to this.
Paul, I can't get rid of all the writing on my screen. How do I do that?
Hold on.
Okay, thank you.
I was still, you saw me taking minutes there.
So do we have a motion from Pam and a second from someone?
Yes.
We already did that.
Yeah,
Can you
Well,
please
so we're in
formalize the
discussion.
motion for the good of the minutes?
yeah.
Yeah, JV, could you please formalize the motion because you know the language better than I do.
Damn, you already did it. I already voted okay.
I know. I said
Let's let
I want the board to move forward with the application for the national.
Mark can do it. He can have a first words, make a big motion, get in a big trouble with the whole city of Athens.
Okay, I'll make it.
Hey, Bart.
Well, the motion would be, I think, is simply to present to the City Council the National Historic District for approval as a designated historic district in Athens.
Yeah. And then we,
All right. Thanks, JV.
I'm not good at politics.
Okay, just one minor correction. National Register of Historic Places District is what we are
There you
doing
go.
with. I know.
You're
Silly
good.
technicalities.
You know, and also we have a few other little things that are included. We've got designated historic landmarks already for the Baptist Church and for the B building. So those all should be piled in to the district, I suppose, because they're designated landmarks.
Actually, the church is listed separately. It's already on the
And I don't know what else. And the one guys building. It is that district
it's
in Athens
listed.
right now. Okay, if you say so. It's not in the outline of the district in Athens, though.
No, but it's separately listed. It's not part of the district.
Okay.
It's listed individually.
If all those things are already registered, that's fine and dandy.
Yeah.
They're on the district. But we do not have downtown Athens registered on anything, except
I
for
agree.
just specific buildings here and there.
So,
Just to confirm, so everybody's aware, that district is officially called the Athens Downtown Historic District, which was put on the National Registry back on September 30th of 1982. And I have the information. The reference number is 82003541. So I can include that.
okay.
I think that that's a good thing to do. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, that's true. We
City
will.
council will approve it. If
Yeah.
they approve this, and then we can expand the district to what we consider to be the significant local landmarks that have been more or less incorporated now because the city has grown, and we feel that the historic district needs to grow as well from 1983.
Things now or wait. Oh, the church and the city hall, the courthouse. And we don't have to do those now either. It doesn't matter really.
Mary Ann, you're suggesting only those that have individually been listed already on the National Registry
Right.
to include in the downtown district
That's
because
right.
you've already passed muster at the national level.
We could start that way. Which
So
is,
am I correct that there was a motion from Pam? Was there a second?
Second.
all in favor?
Richard's second, okay.
Agreed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay.
Aye.
The motion has passed, thankfully. So how do we do this? Just get a copy of the nominations and present them to city council and let them
Yeah,
look at them?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Mary Ann.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
I'm just wondering how to do this. Do we get copies of these nominations and give them to the council?
Yeah, I can put together a brief memo and send it out to the commission, and I'll pull up I have the original National Registry documents from '82, and that should include a map, and it includes a map and description of all the buildings, et cetera. So we can include that in and
Good.
then forward that up to city council.
Thank you. Thank you. That would be very nice.
Sure.
Any other?
Assuming council approves what we're requesting, the exact authority we would have would be what? That any change to a structure that would impact that historical nature of the building needs to be approved by us? Is that the authority that we would have?
Correct.
What I've been doing, Mark, with the city, with the code office is trying to incorporate our review system into the city permitting process so that when somebody makes an application for a building permit, they will also be required, if they were in the historic district, to have a review by us. And I believe that, as Paul's alluded to here, if get a read off of Title 45, we have a lot of power in terms of determination of what can be done to the outside of the building, not the inside. If it's in the historic district, we can have some input.
So that any building permit would have to come through us if it is in that district, that if it's approved by council.
Yep, that's right. It's a big deal.
And you realize, everybody, we're still excluding a lot of the buildings because they weren't included as being old enough at the time.
Yes, that's why we would go
Okay.
back. Yeah,
And then
yeah.
John's great map will take care of that for us, though.
Let's see if this works.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
And
So
Mark,
it's-
I don't know if Mark, if you haven't seen the maps that we have developed as a committee that expands the downtown district, the local district, as well as the historic district, I must have your email. I could email this
Okay.
stuff to you to show what we've done and in expanding the district to try to include more of the significant, historic structures in Athens, in the uptown area, not necessarily Court Street in Washington, but a little bit beyond. And as I got the little circle on my name, Marianne and Pam, you've made modifications to that map, which I haven't seen. I don't know how I can get a copy of that so that I can.
Well, John, I went over it with, yes, we made modifications, and I went over it with Paul Logue's assistant, and he made the changes, so it has been accomplished digitally. And Paul Logue is the it has that information. Don't you, Paul? Please.
I was typing up some minutes there. Are we talking about the brochure, Marianne or Pam?
No.
No, we're talking about the big map and the changes that you and I did with your assistant. We sat down with him in the map and cleaned it up.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm sorry, Pam. Thank you for jogging my memory. It's been a long pandemic already. Yes, Richard did do that. We do have copies of that. I'm happy to send that out to the commissioners.
Well, if you do that, then I won't be distributing things like to Mark that aren't up to date.
That's correct, John. John, you should wait.
Wrong.
I'll send them out.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments on the district expansion or any other old business to attend to? If not, let's move on to new business. So we have two items on here, membership chair and the vice chair. So, Paul, would you like to explain about that, or?
Sure. Yeah. Well, just to reiterate to the commission that I believe Marianne's been handling the meetings since the former chair Keith Chapman resigned. However, under the Chapter 45, the board is supposed to have a chair and a vice chair, and those seats are supposed to be nominated by and voted on by the members of the board. That hasn't been done yet. However, we do have a full 7-member board at this time. I don't believe there's any requirement that you do it today, but I just wanted to recommend that my recommendation would be either at this meeting or in the September meeting that the board make some decisions on who wants to be chair and vice chair, and then vote on it.
Well, I think I was the vice chair.
Oh, you're correct, Marianne. Thank you. Yeah, Marianne's still the vice chair, right? Technically.
If somebody else wants it, they have it. No, anyway, so, okay, other new business. Siemens, about local designations. Don't know about Siemens.
Yeah, I can talk about this a little bit. We spoke about this, I think, in January or February as well.
Okay.
The city has had some discussions with the Seaman family that owns that business and owns that property. They are open-minded to be locally designated as a historic property. There's a possibility of utilizing that local designation for the city to do an economic development strategy called a Downtown Redevelopment District, which is an Ohio Revised Code program, very similar to a TIF, a tax increment financing strategy, where a portion of increased value in property taxes within a 10-acre district would be set aside and then reinvested back into that district. And there's a lot of flexibility with how that money could be used, including infrastructure improvements, landscaping improvements, signage. Even a property within that district could utilize those funds for an architect to help redesign a building and making sure that it follows appropriate historic preservation standards. So it's a good strategy from as a way to protect historic sites. We actually have 2 of those already existing in Athens in the Uptown District, utilizing historic properties as an anchor. That is one of the requirements under state law for a downtown redevelopment district, is it must have at a minimum a locally designated historic property as the anchor of that 10-acre piece of land. So we've been looking at that as a good strategy with our Economic Development Council for a while. You're looking at the Union Street corridor, that area as being something that is, we're seeing redevelopment occurring. As you're all aware, of course, the Oblenis is putting an addition in, or a new project in that location right now. And after conversations with the Siemens family, we thought that there might be an opportunity there for a local designation, considering the style of that building, as well as it's a 3rd-generation family business. It is locally owned. It's an anchor for the west side of Athens. And Cyrus and I had a conversation about this a couple weeks ago. To our knowledge, it's either, from a retail perspective, it is, I think we would probably consider it the longest running local family-owned retail business in Athens, considering Cornwall Jewelers recently closed, and Lamborn's Studios recently closed, and I think there was another one that we mentioned, Cyrus, that closed, or Carsey's changed hands, if I'm not mistaken, Carsey's Barbershop.
Yeah.
And so Siemens is with the exception of Miller's Chicken, Siemens and Miller's are probably the 2 longest at this point. And so with the blessing of the Siemens family, we thought this might be an appropriate strategy for this commission to move forward with. One of the things I liked about it, it's kind of being proactive. A building that's 50 years old now, it's probably not worthy of the National Registry, but it's certainly, in my opinion, it looks like it has a lot of value to our community. That is one of the things that we can consider for a local designation.
I think that's a great idea. So
10 acres. What are the 10 acres, Paul? I mean,
let me see if I can find a map of that, Richard. 1 second, sir.
Assume it includes Siemens store and some land around it.
Correct. Yeah, it's ask another question while I try to find it, if that's okay, everybody.
Does it
include all that land behind Siemens, between there and the hospital, or what's?
Yeah, it's the land that goes from behind Siemens to the parking lot, right up to the old canal bed. So it's at an angle.
Here, I can pull this up for you. At least I think I can. Let me try. Can you all see that?
Yep.
yeah,
So the Siemens building is right here. That's the grocery. There's a small rental right next to it, if I'm not mistaken. There's the gas station. There's what used to be Dial's Hearing Center. Might still be Dial's Hearing Center. This is the Express Care Urgent Care. And then this land back here is owned by the Siemens family, or at least this land is, I think all of this right here. And then this is owned by Ohio Health. And there's also a house that's owned by the Siemens family right here. So like I said, there's, as far as developable land on Union Street, with the exception of the fairgrounds, this is probably, that back area is probably the most ripe for redevelopment, is what we would expect. In fact, we're already seeing some of that occurring right now.
there might be archaeological sites in there. When Blazers, I know where their floral shop was. I know that was a big archaeological site, and I don't know how far it expanded, but I don't think it was ever listed or anything.
So most of
What is the value to the Siemens family specifically for us to do this?
there's value to this area as a whole, Mark. What the Siemens family, in all likelihood, what they would see from it is that any monies that are generated from the DRD must remain within that 10-acre zone. And so if there's any improvements, such as there could be some of that money could be used for to address traffic circulation in and out to that building, for example, curb cuts or sidewalk improvements, something like that, if it was wanted. It could be planters and to make that area more attractive. If nothing really happens there's not a lot of investment that would come out of it. It would be pretty modest because it would only, the DRD would only collect money based on increase in value, not current value. So if a building's worth $1 million, if it increases in value to $1,010,000, the DRD is only going to collect on that $10,000, not that original million. So it probably on a yearly basis, assuming that Ohio Health Project comes online, it might add, be $20,000 or $30,000 in a pot of money that could be collected over a 10-year term. And then at the end of the 10 years, the DRD either needs to be renewed or dissolves. But the Siemens family could utilize those funds. When we met with Jay Seaman, who runs the business along with his brother, they love their location. They've got a good business going. They have no intents to sell the business or anything like that, is what Jay told us back in March. And they're supportive of this project. If the Preservation Commission is, of course, and then this would be a recommendation to council. Your responsibility would be the designation criteria. I tried to look at that a little bit, and in my opinion, again, just my opinion, based on the criteria, I think that Siemens, it could be considered that it meets its exemplification shall be of the cultural, economic, social, or historic heritage of the city of Athens, or the embodiment shall be of elements of architectural design, detail, materials, or craftsmanship, which represents architecture of significant character, charm, or grandeur. And with that, I thought specifically of the neon sign and the way that that brick wall juts up from the main entrance of the building as being kind of an iconic of the west side of Athens and of that business. But also that it's the location and characteristics are representative of an established and familiar visual feature for a neighborhood. So I thought all of those warranted consideration. And also, in my opinion, it's probably not worthy, in the short run at least, of National Registry standing. But
well, sounds like a good project. I think we should endorse it.
I mean, from our standpoint, I mean, the building is, and I shop there a lot, and it is a historic landmark, I think, in Athens. All this other stuff, I'm sure that, I mean, you're talking about this development, whatever the finances are. I mean, that's not our, but obviously Paul has done an awful lot of work in the city to try to encourage this development district or zone for the Siemens on their 10 acres. And regardless of any of that, I think the building is worthy of our approval. And I mean, I don't know about all the other stuff that you're talking, redevelopment and whatnot, but the building is significant, in my opinion, itself as it stands right now. And it would be good to keep it. And if this helps them keep it, it's worth it. From our standpoint, from a historic committee, only related to the building.
The only question I have, and I'm an ardent shopper at Siemens. In fact, I won't go to Kroger's. I go to Siemens. So I love Siemens. I love Penny Seaman. I love Jay Seaman. I love the whole family. So this is not an anti-Seaman comment. However, I would point out that they are the prime mover in this, except for Ohio Health, and among the private business owners in Athens, they're the dominant beneficiary of anything that happens there. Is that not right? I'm just wondering, would there be any concern or criticism that this is sort of a deal being put together for the Seaman family or the Seaman business? If someone, mentioned Miller's Chicken, I mean, why not do this for Miller's Chicken? I'm not.
Sure.
So I'm just trying to think of possible arguments that might be used against this, and I'm not against this. I know, Paul, you were a roommate of Jay Siemens in college, I think.
We live down the hall from each other.
Oh, we down the hall.
We were not roommates.
Yeah,
Richard, I can't speak on that.
Yeah.
The Seaman family did not approach the city. The Economic Development Council has been working on these. This DRD language came out of the state legislature, I think, in the last 5 years, give or take. The Athens County Economic Development Council has been working on. They saw the DRDs as a very good economic development tool that the city of Athens and other cities and villages in Athens County could utilize. They approached, and it's in their planning documents as well, that this is something that they recommended. They began working on these on the front end. We submitted, I think, 3 to the 2 or 3 of these have already been established by Athens City Council using existing historic buildings that are already on the National Registry. And they were the Economic Development Council was looking at this location on Union Street as being something that they thought was right for redevelopment. That there is some potential here to utilize this strategy to capture some of that to reinvest. And while we were looking at it, and I was involved with some of these meetings, I said, there's no historic buildings remotely within on a national registry within this 10 acres or close to it. And so if they're looking at something, well, let's look at the existing buildings that could be possibly in there. And we looked at several different scenarios, including other real estate on Union Street in that corridor that could be linked to it. Nothing made any sense. And then we started looking at the Siemens property, and it was basically saying, well, like I said, it is an anchor of the West Side. It's a family-run business. It does all of those things. It's got some of its architectural features are unique for that, and it's a good example. In my opinion, it's a good representation of like mid-century commercial retail, and we don't have a lot of that left. And then, so because of that, after we had conversations internally, myself, Mayor Patterson, and the Economic Development Council, we said, well, let's touch base with the Seaman family. We wouldn't be interested in moving forward with any of this if they're not supportive of it. And we explained some of the pros and cons to them. We explained if it's locally designated, that means that the Preservation Board, if they want to make any changes or alterations or anything significant, they're going to have to bring it forward to the Preservation Board for review before they do it. They understood that. They understand that, and they thought, like a lot of other property owners within downtown redevelopment districts, they can see value to them from an economic development perspective, and that is what DRDs are supposed to do. So,
well, I'm for it. I just think we ask
sure,
the question. Yeah. Someone say Larry's Doghouse is 50 or an old institution on West Union Street, or Miller's Chicken on West State Street, and I just want to be sure we've got our ducks in order. I'm not against it. I'm for it. If you want.
I believe Miller's is actually in the STUMAC. Miller's is part of STUMAC, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, this Miller's may be already taken.
Yeah. And we, but you're correct though. You could make the case that Larry's Doghouse or something could be based on for a local designation. That being said, it's if the property owner doesn't want that, it's not a good idea to necessarily to do that on them, in my opinion. But
that's changed ownership recently too.
It has, correct, right. but its signage is important, I would say.
I think it's a good idea, and I think we should definitely encourage this.
Can I make a motion, Mary Ann?
Yes,
I
please.
move that we move forward with I don't know what we call it. I want to call it the Siemens Historic District, but that's not the right words. Move forward as recommended by the city plan. Hello.
I'll second.
Thank you, guys.
Second that.
Any further comments? Or okay, I'll call. Who are we in favor of doing this? Aye.
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 Hi,
Good.
Oh, Pam, you're still there.
I am. I've been thinking about White's Mill the whole time,
Yes, me too, Pam. Me too.
but that's for a later meeting, not tonight.
Another good
Not
one.
tonight.
We can talk.
Okay, thank you. That went well. Are there any announcements or updates?
I think that we could spend a minute talking about the Bingham House because of the little flurry that seems to have happened over its current repair work. I can tell you a little bit about it because David Callahan has been part of the communication, and he is the architect of record of the relocation of the project.
Oh,
He did recently visit the site and felt that the work that was being done very well and appropriately. I cannot provide you with details beyond that, but he was not alarmed as to the integrity of the building or any harm that was being done to it. In fact, I believe he was complimentary to the university for taking care of it. One of the features of log cabins is that they really were created to be sided after they were built and not to be left in exposed log state. So it does require care in maintenance of that structure as the logs are laid bare. That's all I can tell you, I think.
How did Tim Traxler go crazy?
Why did he go crazy? You'll have to
Tim
call him up.
Traxler.
You'll have to call him up and ask him. I don't know
Well,
the answer to that.
I found out a little bit about that, and it looks like he was alarmed by some of the building materials that were being used in the restoration work. From what I could tell, and I was sent a few pictures, but there was nothing that I could really tell from it. But I was told that they were using styrofoam in some places to go behind the chinking, and so I think in my mind, I think the disagreement here is whether it's being preserved or restored, and there's an element in the community that wants it restored to its, how it was built in the early 1800s, whereas OU is likely doing more to preserve it than restore it.
That makes sense, the words that you've chosen to use, Cyrus.
Okay. I thought about that carefully.
I remember when David relocated the Bingham House to that site. I remember other architects commenting, well, why didn't they correct? But it was being taken and put back together the way it was. It wasn't being corrected, and it was still crooked as it was when it was up on East State Street.
Well, I don't know. We are the Historic Preservation Commission in Athens. Do we have anything that we need to do? I don't feel we do, personally. I feel it's in good hands. It's being preserved, taken care of as best as they can. It's a dicey situation. It's a fragile building that is, expensive to have for what you get out of it for the university, I'm sure, in terms of real estate. But they're preserving it. They're taking care of it. Is there anything we need to do as a committee regarding the Bingham House? That's my question.
So,
May I ask a comment or add a comment to that?
Of course.
I was wondering, it's my understanding, and if anybody wants to correct me, please do, is that it is not on the National Registry from what we could find.
No, I believe it is, Paul. I believe
Okay.
it is still listed because it had been moved before it was listed, supposedly.
Okay.
And I think in the case of log houses, they can be moved, and it has
Okay.
numbers and everything on the logs.
If somebody can find that information, that would be really helpful to me. My thought was if it is not on the National Registry, that we should ask the university to go through, to consider going through the paperwork to submit it for the National Registry, and then possibly applying for one of those grants down the road for one of those historic Ohio Historical Society markers in the front of it. To draw attention to it, especially as coming in as the main entrance of the city, that seems might have some value down the road to better tell the story of what that building is. That it's not just a log cabin; it's the original county courthouse and all of that. Because if I knew it was the county courthouse at one point, I had forgotten that. So these email discussions were interesting to me to reinforce the history there.
I will call and check with people up at the Columbus office and see what they're saying, but I'm pretty sure it's still listed.
Okay,
It's
thanks,
part of
Marianne.
I think it's part of the city government buildings.
Okay, I might have that listing. I'll see if it's in my files.
Okay, and I may be wrong, but I'll call and check. I'll call Barb Powers and ask her.
Well, Pam, David, we should have the documentation if it was, RBC moved it. Something might be a file somewhere that shows that.
Well, John, let them do it, please. Just
Okay.
Come on, it's a long time ago.
Well, but it might be in our files at the office as well.
Well, then you go look it up. Then it'd be
No, I
great.
wouldn't look it up. I'd have somebody look it up.
Is there any interpretive material at the Bingham House except for the OU sign that says Bingham Cabin or whatever it says?
I think there's some on
I don't know.
the interior, but I don't believe there's anything outside.
Okay, I really like the idea. Well, I like historic markers, but I think that
I was
has
thinking
a lot of
of
significance.
you. I was thinking of you, Cyrus, when he said that. I was smiling because I was going, Cyrus is so excited and happy right now that he's going to get to another plaque. And I agree. I think it's a great idea too.
Yeah.
It's off the subject, though, Cyrus. I found the book upstairs, The Black Hand. And if you text me your email, I'll send it to you.
All right.
I'll give
Sounds
you
good.
It's the
All right.
the Black Hand is another historic thing in Athens nobody knows about. But a guy from Athens was responsible for destroying the mafia in Ohio at the turn of the century.
Oh, boy.
He was a postal detective that lived in Athens and he's still up, and I want you to find this out, on Congress Street. He had two houses. And in one of them, he buried all the evidence that he collected from one of the trials in the backyard. And
All the Thompsons and BARs buried back there.
Did they ever find it, John?
no,
Huh.
his wife outlived him and sold the houses. He had two houses. Actually, she lived here. He worked out of Cincinnati, but because he was dealing with the mafia, he didn't let anybody know where he really lived. But he got 4 trunks that were in the attic of all the evidence that he collected from the Black Hand investigations. This is Sandusky, Columbus, all over Ohio. And it was the Italians ripping off and murdering immigrants that came over from Italy. And he single-handedly, pretty much, uncovered and destroyed their entire organization. and I can't remember his name right now, but I've got the book. If you send me your address, Cyrus, I'll send it to you.
That sounds
This needs
good.
to be brought to it. I mean, I was like flabbergasted when I read this.
Okay,
And
what's
we-
next on the agenda?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is there anything else that we need to discuss or bring up tonight?
Yeah, quick question, Paul. You mentioned that we need to announce a chair and a vice chair. Has there been any discussion? Those of you who've been on this commission for a long time, you know who are the right people to assume those roles. What do you guys suggest?
Mary Ann's been doing a halfway decent job of chairing it the last few months. Would you want to continue, Mary Ann? I'm just picking up on Mark's thing. I think both Mark and I wondered whatever happened to that item. We just went past it. What do you think, Mary Ann? I mean, it's someone else wants.
I thought Mary Ann just didn't want to give a campaign speech.
That too. No,
And would you be, John, agree to be vice?
I'm sorry.
Would you
I
agree to
think,
be vice chair?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I can't hear Guy.
John Valentour, Guy Phillips asked if you would agree to be vice chair, and I think we're suggesting that Mary Ann be chair.
I could do that.
Lovely.
okay,
Mary Ann?
I will too. Thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you.
I think the campaign's over.
Yeah.
I would like to,
I wish they were all that easy.
I would like to make a motion that we elect Mary Ann as our chair and John Valentour as our vice chair.
Second.
Thank
Cyrus, give it to Cyrus the second.
You can get the next one.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't.
Could
see
you
any-
call the vote, please, for that?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, we do need to have a vote for that. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. I guess it is a stance. Thank you very much. And if there is no other business, I will thank you
Move
all
to
for,
adjourn.
what?
Move to adjourn.
Well, that's what I was going to do. If there's no other business, I was going to move to adjourn and say thank you all for being here tonight. It's nice seeing all of you. So, thank
Welcome,
you.
Mark.
So let's adjourn.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.